Hello guys, it's about 2 years later and I finally cut my videos about my road trip from Spain to Germany and I put them onto YouTube as well. So when I was watching all these videos and all the pictures, I really kind of like felt being put back into the time when I was living in Spain and was coming back here. So I got inspired and I made myself Spanish breakfast this morning. And of course I do have a big coffee cup, but look at this, my Spanish coffee cup. So what I really want to end these videos with is some advices, some hints, and just kind of like tell you how I planned this specific road trip and what I'm normally checking and making sure of when I do plan road trips like this. But honestly, I'll have my breakfast first. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. So I had my breakfast. What about you? Well, let's get down to some facts that made this road trip different to the ones that I normally do. The first thing is it was a one-way. It was going from Madrid to Frankfurt. The second was I did have a lot of stuff in Madrid and I needed to take it all back to Frankfurt, which means I had a car packed full of luggage, way more than I would ever take onto a holiday. So that was the main goal. That is why I did this full trip. And the second goal, but not less important, was to make the distance fun and enjoyable for myself. So I put myself down 4 things that I wanted to see, because the first thing I found out when I was talking to people about me going by car back to Germany, they told me that in Pamplona the San Fermin festival is on, and I decided I would like to see this because it's very cultural, very traditional in Spain. It's a very big thing, and since I was passing by so closely, it would have been just sad not to visit it. The second thing was that I had a friend living in Bilbao, so I wanted to visit her as well. I knew I would be passing like beautiful beaches in the north of Spain and the south of France. So come on, I mean, I can't pass a beach and not at least spend half a day just enjoying the scenery and just enjoying the beach as well. And being at the ocean, I wanted to have some nice seafood. So these were the 4 things that I really wanted to do for myself during this trip to absolutely enjoy the trip. So I would call them the main sites. And the rest, everything around it, was just stuff that would happen, that I would just encounter on the way and I would just do. So specifically, the distance that I had to cover from Bordeaux to the German border to Frankfurt, I knew I would be traveling a lot on motorways, but during the day I would get off the motorway to kind of like take a break, but also to enjoy my break, to do like some small sightseeing. So that was like something that I knew I would do, but I had no idea where I would do it because I didn't know where I would be at the time that I wanted to take a break and things like this. Yeah, so these were the goals, and now I had to plan pretty much around those goals. So the first thing is, as I already said, I wanted to drive, so I needed to check how much time I would need to get there. And when I put in the distance into Google Maps, it quoted something around 20 hours. So with 20 hours, I knew just the pure driving, I would need pretty much 3 days for this. If you drive safely and you take enough breaks to be like awake. If you want to do some sightseeing and something like this as well, the minimum is of course 4 days. And I gave myself up to 6 days to cover this trip because I had some arrangements afterwards in Germany, so I had to be back at least 6 days after I left. But on the other hand, also I was able to kind of like take this time between the 4 and the 6 days. The next part, of course, that I wanted to do is I wanted to get like a good proper rental car that I was able to rent in Madrid and able to return in Germany as well. This kind of clearly brings me to some international rental companies. Most of them really just do this one-way rental thing in Europe. It's not a big deal. And the good part is also if you tell them what you want to do, so I did, and they even advised me to take the car one size bigger, and thank you so much that they did it, because this way I was able to put everything easily in the car, and I was able to look out of my back window, my rear window, because otherwise I would have been not able to see anything in the back, would have been just absolutely full. So that's sort of pretty much the time and the car planning. So the next point is the consideration of safety and overnight stays, like where would I sleep, accommodation. A festival in Pamplona going on means there's hardly any accommodation left, or like say there's very little accommodation left, because I mean I didn't plan it like months beforehand. It also means everything is quite expensive, but it also means I don't want to sleep in my car when a festival is going on, and I don't want my car to be on its own in the street when a festival is going on with all my stuff inside. And so clearly I said I have to get a hotel, and the hotel has to have a proper parking place. So I found that not in the city center, and I think definitely more expensive than it normally would be, but still at an absolutely reasonable, okay price. And I had to walk something like, I don't know, something between 30 minutes, 45 minutes to get from the hotel to the city center. But this was okay for me, absolutely acceptable. So that was one thing that I had to consider. The next thing I had to consider is Bilbao. I was going to stay with my friends. And I was staying in her place, but there was no parking lot coming with the flat. So I also had to check out where can I put my car that I can access it during the night, like whenever I want to. And most of the towns, they just have like open parking lots, like where you can kind of like, they're open 24/7. And yeah, and you have to pay for them, and that's absolutely fine. So yes, I mean, clearly you can see, since I have a lot of things of myself in the car, I don't want to get this stuff stolen. I don't want to get the car broken into. And I had to take a bit more care of this than I normally would, because everybody who passes the car sees there's like a huge amount of stuff in there. Yeah, so then when I was driving, when I was traveling, when I was like leaving the car somewhere in the towns, I also checked that out. Like normally I just take paid parking, because this usually gives me the feeling that it's somehow more watched. It's kind of a bit safer than if I would put it just in a road or somewhere on the side. I know for sure I don't put it in any wrong place, because I don't want to get back and my car is towed away. So yeah, so I did take care of this. Then the last 2 nights I did not book anything. I didn't know where I would stay. At the end, I did stay in the car. One night I always do it. It's like a tradition on one of my road trips. But the other night I would have stayed also in a hotel. It just came more convenient to sleep in the car. It was just a decision out of convenience. And here I chose resting areas, and I slept pretty much in front of the service part of the resting area. So it's like, it's a house, there's a service, there are like people, and there's a bright light, and there's a big entrance, and they're pretty much there 24/7 as well. So this, for me, traveling on my own as a woman always is a quite safe place to stay, because everybody sees you. It's okay. You just need your sleeping mask to cover out the very bright light that you're sleeping under. Yeah, also for being in the middle and pretty much the south of France, it's so warm. I knew I would be absolutely fine with my small sleeping bag that I had with me in Spain. So they were like the main points that I had to consider, and that made this whole trip a bit different to the trips that I normally do. The luggage I already mentioned to you. My car was packed. I knew if there was something at the very bottom, I would not want to get there. I would just not get to this stuff until I unpack my car fully. And it was also way too much luggage in there to ever take it into any hotel. So I used my hand luggage little suitcase that I would use when I'm traveling on an airplane, and I put everything in there that I would think I need for those days, everything and a little bit extra just in case. And then I also put like a bag there with beach stuff, like a beach towel, like a blanket, my, how do you call it, my bikini. So I was able to reach this kind of like really easily when I knew I wanted to stop at the beaches. So this was very, very clear that I would want to do this. So these were the major things about this road trip. I really enjoyed watching the videos and checking out the pictures that I took about 2 years ago. I hope you enjoyed the videos too. If you want to know a bit more about how to plan a road trip, or if you have any questions at all, put them down into the comments. Otherwise, also just check out a video that I will link in the corners, where I'll just explain a bit more how I organize my road trips normally in a very general way. Otherwise, I'll just tell you, start dreaming of your next holidays. And until then, take care. Bye.